If you're watching this late at night, scrolling through stories that make your skin crawl, then listen close, because what I'm about to tell you still keeps me up some nights, even though it's over now. My name is, well, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm 34, a black woman who's always tried to do things the right way. Go to work, come home, keep the peace in my marriage. For the last 2 years, every single night, my husband would hand me these little white pills. He'd stand there in the doorway of our bedroom, watching me with this quiet smile, waiting until I put them in my mouth and swallowed with a glass of water he brought himself. He called them sleep aids. Said I was tossing and turning too much, that I needed them to rest properly so I wouldn't be so tired and irritable during the day. At first, I believed him. I was exhausted, work stress, life stress, all of it. The pills knocked me out cold. I'd wake up the next morning feeling heavy, groggy, like I'd slept for days but still hadn't really rested. My head would ache, my thoughts felt fuzzy, and I'd forget little things, like what I'd said in conversations or where I'd put my keys. But after a while, something started feeling off. He'd get anxious if I ever questioned it. Just take them, baby. You need this, he'd say, voice soft but firm, hand already reaching for the bottle in the bathroom cabinet. It became this ritual: dinner, TV for an hour, then lights out, and the pills. Every night. No exceptions. Even when we argued, even on weekends, even when I said I felt fine and didn't need them. One night, about 6 months ago, I don't know what made me do it, maybe pure instinct, but I held the pill under my tongue while he watched. I pretended to swallow, took a big sip of water, smiled like everything was normal. He kissed my forehead, turned off the light, and left the room. I waited. Spit the pill into my hand in the dark. And for the first time in forever, I stayed awake. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Quiet ones. Coming back down the hall, toward our bedroom door. If you're thinking this is just about bad sleep meds, keep watching. Because what happened after I stayed awake that night changed everything, and I still don't know if he realizes I know. Before I go any deeper into what happened that night, and trust me, it gets worse, I need y'all to know who I am. Not my full name or where I live exactly, because I'm still being careful. But the real me. The woman who let this go on for as long as it did. I'm 34 years old. Born and raised in a smallish city in the South. Think quiet streets, everybody knows your mama, church on Sunday kind of place. I was the good kid. Straight A's when I felt like it, helped my grandma cook on weekends, stayed out of trouble. My mama raised me and my little brother by herself after my daddy left when I was 7. She worked 2 jobs, never complained, always told me, baby, you gotta be strong enough to stand on your own, but soft enough to let the right person love you. I took that to heart. I went to college on scholarships and a little bit of loans, got my degree in healthcare administration. Nothing flashy, but steady. I've been working at the same hospital for almost 10 years now, handling billing and patient records. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, gives me good insurance, and I like knowing I'm helping people, even if it's behind the scenes. I'm not the loud type. Never have been. I don't post every detail of my life online, don't do drama, don't like arguing in front of folks. People say I'm calm, that I think before I speak. My friends call me the listener, the one they come to when stuff gets heavy, because I don't judge, I just hear them out. I guess that's part of why I stayed quiet for so long about the pills. I didn't want to make a scene. I didn't want to believe something could be that wrong in my own house. I met my husband, let's call him Marcus, 7 years ago. He was charming in that quiet way too. Tall, deep voice, always dressed nice even on regular days. He worked in IT, made good money, had his life together. We dated for 3 years before we got married. Nothing rushed. We talked about everything, kids, we wanted to, money, family, faith. He met my mama, charmed her too. The wedding was small, just family and close friends in my mama's backyard. I wore a simple white dress. He cried when he saw me walking down the grass aisle. I thought I'd found the one person who saw me, really saw me, and still chose me anyway. After we got married, life settled into something comfortable. We bought a little 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. I kept working, he kept working. We'd cook dinner together most nights, watch our shows, go to church sometimes, visit family on holidays. Quiet, but good. Or at least that's what I told myself. I'm a trusting person. Maybe too trusting. I believe people when they say they love me. I believe they mean it when they say they're looking out for me. Marcus always said he just wanted me to be healthy, to rest, to not carry so much stress. And I carried a lot. Work was busy, Mama's health started slipping a couple years back. Money got tighter than we expected with the house note and all. I was tired a lot. So when he started bringing me those pills, saying they'd help me sleep deeper, I didn't fight it. I wanted to believe he was taking care of me the way I always tried to take care of everybody else. I loved him. Still feels strange to say that in past tense, but I did. I loved the way he'd rub my feet after a long day, how he'd remember little things like bringing me peach tea from the gas station because he knew it was my favorite. I loved how safe I felt falling asleep next to him, at least in the beginning. But love makes you overlook things sometimes. Makes you explain away the little red flags. Makes you think, maybe I'm just overthinking it. I wasn't loud about my feelings. I didn't demand answers right away. I waited, watched, tried to make sense of it all in my head first. That's just who I am. Think it through, pray about it, hope it gets better before I rock the boat. But that night I didn't swallow the pill. Everything I thought I knew about my quiet, comfortable life started cracking wide open. If you're still here, thank you for listening. I'm not telling this story for pity. I'm telling it because I finally found my voice, and because some of y'all might need to hear that it's okay to question the people who say they're only trying to help you sleep. I want to take you back to how it all started with Marcus, because when I tell you I fell hard and completely, I mean it. Looking back, those early days felt like something out of a quiet love story, the kind nobody makes movies about but everybody secretly wants. No fireworks or drama, just two people who fit together easy, like we'd been waiting on each other without knowing it. I met him in 2018 at a cookout my cousin was throwing for the 4th of July. I wasn't even planning to stay long, just drop off the potato salad my mama made me bring and head home to my couch and Netflix. But it was one of those perfect summer evenings where the air smelled like charcoal and somebody's uncle was playing old school R&B on the speaker. I was standing by the cooler, trying to decide if I wanted another soda, when this tall guy in a simple gray t-shirt and jeans walked up and asked if he could grab one too. He smiled first with his eyes, soft, warm, like he was genuinely happy to see me even though we'd never met. "You look like you know which drinks are actually cold," he said, and I laughed because the ice had mostly melted hours ago. We ended up talking for the next 2 hours straight, about everything and nothing. He told me he worked in IT for a big insurance company downtown, that he'd moved here from Atlanta a couple years earlier for the job. I told him about my work at the hospital, how I like numbers and order but hated when patients got overcharged. He listened like he really cared, asking questions, nodding, never checking his phone once. By the time the fireworks started, we were sitting on the same lawn chair, me on one side, him on the other, sharing a blanket somebody handed out. When the first boom went off overhead, I jumped a little because I always do, and he just put his arm around my shoulder without asking, gentle, like it was the most natural thing. I didn't move away. I leaned in. And that was it. That was the moment I felt safe with him. We exchanged numbers that night. He texted me the next morning, "Good morning. Still thinking about that potato salad recipe your mama needs to share." I smiled so big my cheeks hurt. We started slow, coffee dates, long phone calls after work, Sunday drives with no destination. He'd pick me up in his clean Camry, always open the door for me, always ask what music I wanted to hear. He loved old school soul and gospel, same as me. We'd ride around singing along to Marvin Gaye or the Clark Sisters, windows down, laughing when we hit the wrong notes. What I loved most was how steady he was. No games, no disappearing for days, no vague answers. If he said he'd call at 8, He called at 8:05 with an apology for being late. He remembered little things, how I take my coffee, light and sweet, that I hate scary movies, that my feet get cold easy so he'd bring extra socks when we watched TV at his place. He met my mama about 4 months in. Brought her flowers and fixed her laptop when she complained it was running slow. She pulled me aside after he left and said, "That one's a keeper, baby. He looks at you like you hung the moon." He told me early on he wanted marriage, kids, the whole thing. Said he was tired of dating just to date. I felt the same. We talked about what we wanted our life to look like, saving for a house, traveling a little, raising children who knew they were loved. He said he wanted a partner, not just a wife, someone he could build with, pray with, grow old with. I believed him with everything in me. When he proposed 2 years later, it wasn't flashy. We were on the couch watching one of our shows, eating Chinese takeout straight from the cartons. He paused the TV, got down on one knee right there in the living room, and pulled out a simple solitaire ring he'd saved up for. "I don't have a big speech," he said, voice shaking just a little. "I just know I want to wake up next to you every day for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" I cried so hard I could barely get the yes out. The wedding was small and sweet, just like we wanted. My mama walked me down the aisle in her backyard under string lights. He cried when he saw me. We wrote our own vows, mine about trusting him with my heart, his about protecting and cherishing me always. When the pastor said, "You may kiss the bride," he kissed me soft and slow, like he had all the time in the world. Those first couple years of marriage felt like the reward for waiting. We were a team. He'd cook breakfast on weekends, I'd handle the laundry. We'd pray together some nights, short and simple, thanking God for each other. I never felt alone with him. Never doubted he had my back. There were no red flags then. No controlling moments, no lies I could catch, no nights he came home late without calling. Just love. Real, quiet, everyday love that made me think I'd gotten it right. I trusted him completely. With my heart, my future, my peace. That's why, when the pills started, I didn't question it at first. How could I? This was Marcus. The man who looked at me like I hung the moon. The man who promised to protect me always. I didn't know yet that promises can sound sweet, and still hide something dark. Those first few years of marriage, y'all, they felt like the calm I'd been praying for my whole life. Nothing loud or extravagant, just steady, warm, and safe. The kind of days that blend together in the best way, where you look up one evening and realize you're actually happy, not the fake kind you post about, but the quiet kind that settles in your bones. We'd bought this little brick house about a year after the wedding, 3 bedrooms, small backyard, nothing fancy, but it was ours. I loved coming home to it. Marcus would usually beat me there since his office was closer. I'd walk in and smell dinner already started, maybe chicken baking in the oven or spaghetti sauce simmering on the stove. He wasn't some master chef, but he could cook the basics real good, and he liked doing it. "Go sit down, baby," he'd say, kissing my cheek. "I got this." I'd kick off my shoes, change into comfy clothes, and we'd talk about our days while he finished up in the kitchen. Most evenings looked the same, and I loved that sameness. We'd eat at the table, no phones, just us. He'd ask about the patients I helped that day, listen when I vented about insurance mix-ups or a rude doctor. I'd ask about his projects at work, and even though I didn't understand half the tech stuff, I liked hearing him explain it. After dinner, one of us would wash dishes while the other dried. Then we'd move to the couch, legs tangled under a blanket, watching whatever show we were on, usually something light, like a sitcom or one of those home renovation shows. He'd rub my feet without me asking, or I'd lean my head on his chest and listen to his heartbeat. Simple stuff, but it felt like everything. Weekends were slow and sweet. Saturday mornings, we'd sleep in a little, then one of us would make breakfast, pancakes or eggs and turkey bacon, coffee strong the way we both liked it. We'd sit at the kitchen table with the windows open, birds making noise outside, planning nothing big. Sometimes we'd run errands together, grocery store, Target for household stuff, maybe stop at that little peach stand in the summer. He'd carry the heavy bags, open the car door for me even after years of marriage, hold my hand walking through the parking lot. People probably thought we were corny, but I didn't care. Sundays, we'd go to church some weeks. Not every week, we weren't perfect about it, but when we did, he'd hold my hand during service, squeeze it when the preacher said something that hit home. Afterward, we'd go to my mama's house for dinner or have his parents over to ours. Family was important to both of us. He treated my mama like his own, fixed things around her house, called her ma, brought her little gifts when he traveled for work. She loved him. He made me feel protected in ways I didn't even know I needed. When my anxiety would creep up, about money, about mama's blood pressure, about anything, he'd pull me close and say, "We're good. I got us. Just breathe." And I believed him. If I had a bad day, he'd run me a bath, light that cheap lavender candle I liked, sit on the bathroom floor and talk to me until I felt better. When storms rolled through and the thunder got loud, he'd wrap around me in bed like a shield. I slept better with him next to me than I ever had alone. He noticed things. If I was quiet too long, he'd ask what was really on my mind. If I sighed getting dressed because nothing felt right, he'd say, "You look beautiful to me, always do." He celebrated the small wins with me, a promotion at work, paying off a bill early, even just making it through a hard week. He'd bring home flowers for no reason, or my favorite peach cobbler ice cream from the store across town. We argued sometimes, normal stuff, like whose turn it was to take out the trash or how much we should spend on Christmas gifts, but never loud or mean. He didn't raise his voice, didn't name call, didn't storm out. We'd talk it through, apologize, pray if it felt heavy, and move on. I never went to bed mad. He made sure of that. I felt chosen every day. Seen. Loved for exactly who I was, quiet parts, worried parts, tired parts, all of it. He used to say I was his peace, the place he could lay everything down. And he was mine. Looking back, our life felt sheltered. In the best way. Like nothing bad could really touch us as long as we had each other and that little house and our routines. That's why the pills hit me so sideways when they started. Because nothing in those years prepared me for something feeling wrong with the same man who'd spent every day making me feel safe. I keep thinking about those nights on the couch, his hand in my hair, the TV glowing soft, and how I never once doubted him. How I thought that kind of love was bulletproof. Turns out, even the safest feeling home can hide shadows you don't see until you stop sleeping through the night. Looking back, I can pinpoint the exact month the pills started, October, 3 years into our marriage. Mama had just come home from a hospital stay. Her blood pressure had spiked bad enough to scare everybody. I'd been running back and forth between work, her house, and ours, cooking meals to freeze for her, sitting with her at night when she couldn't sleep. I was exhausted in a way I'd never been before. Not just physically tired, but bone-deep worn out. I'd come home some evenings, sit on the couch, and feel tears coming for no clear reason. Marcus noticed, of course. He always noticed. He'd started rubbing my shoulders a little longer, telling me to go lie down while he finished whatever needed doing. One night, I came in from Mama's, dropped my purse by the door, and just stood there in the kitchen staring at nothing. He walked up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist, and rested his chin on my shoulder. "Baby," he said, voice low and gentle, "you can't keep going like this. You're carrying too much. You're not sleeping right, I hear you tossing all night. You're gonna make yourself sick." I didn't even argue. He was right. I wasn't sleeping. When I did drift off, I'd wake up 2 or 3 times thinking I heard Mama calling, or worrying I'd forgotten to pick up her medication. My eyes had dark circles I couldn't hide with concealer anymore. At work, I was making little mistakes, transposing numbers, forgetting to return patient calls. I felt like I was letting everybody down. A couple weeks later, he came home from work and sat next to me on the couch after dinner. He had this small orange prescription bottle in his hand. Plain white label, typed letters. He turned it so I could read it, Zolpidem, 10 milligrams. Take 1 tablet by mouth at bedtime as needed for sleep. I talked to Dr. Evans today, he said. Dr. Evans was our family doctor, the one we'd both been seeing since we moved to the neighborhood. I told him how worn out you've been, how the stress with your mama is keeping you up. He agreed you need something to help you really rest. He called this in for you. I remember looking at the bottle, then at him. You went to the doctor without me? He shook his head. No, baby, I just called the office. Told the nurse what was going on. Dr. Evans knows us, he knows you've been under a lot. He said it's common for caregivers to need a little help sleeping during rough patches. Said this would help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep, so your body can actually recover. The alarm would go off, and I'd lie there feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My body was heavy, limbs like lead. Some days, I'd sit on the edge of the bed for 10, 15 minutes just trying to find the energy to stand up. Marcus would come in, kiss my forehead, say, "Take your time, baby. You're still recovering from all that stress." And I'd nod, grateful he understood, because I didn't have the words to explain how wrong it felt. By the time I got to work, the fog would roll in. My brain felt wrapped in cotton. Numbers I'd worked with for years suddenly looked foreign. I'd stare at a patient bill and have to read the same line 3 or 4 times before it made sense. Coworkers started asking if I was okay. "You seem out of it," my friend Keisha said one day in the break room. I laughed it off, just tired, girl, but inside I was panicking. I'd always been sharp, organized, the one people came to when something needed fixing. Now I was forgetting deadlines, misplacing files, having to apologize for mistakes I didn't even remember making. The memory gaps were the worst. They started small. I'd be telling Marcus about my day and trail off mid-sentence because I couldn't remember what happened after lunch. Or I'd find dishes in the sink that I didn't recall using. One time, I came home from the grocery store with bags I didn't remember packing into the car. I stood in the kitchen unpacking them, confused, like someone else had done the shopping. Marcus just smiled and said, "You were in a hurry, baby. Don't worry about it." I let it go. Told myself it was normal when you're tired. But then the gaps got bigger. Whole evenings started disappearing. I'd take the pill, climb into bed, and the next thing I knew it was morning. No memory of turning off the lights, no memory of Marcus coming to bed, no dreams, even the bad ones stopped. Just black. Nothing. I'd wake up and feel like I'd lost hours of my life. I noticed little things, though. The grogginess in the mornings got heavier. I'd forget small parts of conversations from the night before. Once, I woke up and my phone was fully charged on Marcus's nightstand instead of mine, and I didn't remember plugging it in. But I brushed it off. Side effects, I told myself. The medicine's strong. It's doing its job. I never thought to count the pills. Never thought to call Dr. Evans myself and ask about the prescription. Never thought to wonder why Marcus was the one handling the bottle, keeping it in the bathroom cabinet on his side, doling them out like clockwork. I just kept taking them. Because my husband, the man who'd promised to protect me, who'd held me through every hard thing we'd faced so far, was telling me this was what I needed. And I believed him. It felt like care. Like love. It would be months before I realized how completely I'd handed over control of my own nights, and how dangerous that kind of trust can be when it's placed in the wrong hands. If you're still watching, stay with me. Because what I learned after I stopped swallowing those pills, it turned everything I thought I knew about my marriage upside down. At first, I thought the pills were saving me. Those early weeks, like I told y'all, I was sleeping through the night for the first time in forever. I'd wake up and feel rested, in a way. But as the months dragged on, October turning into November, then Christmas, then the New Year, I started noticing how that rest wasn't really rest at all. It was something heavier. Something that started stealing pieces of me, little by little, until I barely recognized the woman looking back in the mirror. The fatigue was the first thing that really scared me. Not regular tired. This was a deep, dragging exhaustion that sat on my chest from the moment I opened my eyes. Mornings became a battle. Time started slipping through my fingers like water. Weekends blurred into weekdays. I'd think it was Thursday and realize it was Sunday night. I stopped keeping track of dates on the calendar because it didn't feel real anymore. Emotionally, that's harder to explain. I started feeling numb. Not sad, exactly, just flat. Things that used to light me up didn't anymore. Mama would call and tell me a funny story about something from when I was little, and I'd smile and say the right things, but inside I felt nothing. Like I was watching my life through a window. Even with Marcus. He'd hold me at night, tell me he loved me, and I'd say it back, because I did love him, but the warmth wasn't there like it used to be. Intimacy faded too. I'd think about it sometimes, want to reach for him, but my body felt distant, like it didn't fully belong to me anymore. I gained weight without trying, 15, maybe 20 pounds over those months. My skin looked dull. My hair started coming out in the shower in clumps that scared me. I'd stand there under the water, watching it circle the drain, wondering what was happening to me. But I was too foggy to really fight it. Too tired to make a doctor's appointment for myself. Too numb to cry about it. The scariest part? I still trusted him. Completely. Every night, he'd bring me that pill like it was the most loving thing in the world. He'd sit on the edge of the bed sometimes, stroke my hair while I swallowed it, say things like, "This is helping you heal, baby. You're doing so much better. Look how you're sleeping now." And I'd look at him with heavy eyes and think, he's right. He's taking care of me. This is what love looks like when life gets hard. He never got impatient with my fog. Never got mad when I forgot things or moved slow. He'd handle more around the house, cook, clean, pay bills, saying, "Just rest. I got us." He'd run my baths, help me pick out clothes on mornings when deciding felt impossible. He'd hold me when the numbness turned into quiet tears I couldn't explain. "It's okay," he'd whisper. "You're just tired. This will pass." I believed him. Because why wouldn't I? This was Marcus. The man who'd carried grocery bags for me, who'd prayed over me when I was sick, who'd promised to protect me always. If he said the pills were helping, then they were. If he said I needed them, then I did. I didn't question the bottle staying on his side of the cabinet. Didn't question why he never let me pour my own glass of water anymore. Didn't question why he watched me swallow every single night without fail. I told myself the changes in me were because of the stress. Because of Mama getting older. Because life is hard sometimes and bodies break down. I told myself the fog and the numbness and the lost time were just the price of finally getting rest. I didn't see it then, but I was disappearing. Day by day, night by night, I was becoming a shadow of myself. Quiet, compliant, half awake even when my eyes were open. Living in a haze where nothing felt urgent enough to fight for. And through all of it, I kept taking those pills. Kept trusting the man handing them to me. It wasn't until that one night, the night I held the pill under my tongue and pretended to swallow, that the fog lifted just enough for me to see something wasn't right. Because when you're deep in it, you don't realize how far you've drifted until you finally stay awake long enough to hear the footsteps coming back down the hall. If you're feeling any of this in your own life, the fog, the numbness, the lost time, please listen to me. It's not always just stress. It's not always just tiredness. Sometimes the people who say they're helping you sleep are the reason you're not waking up as yourself anymore. Stay with me. The next part is what broke everything open. By the time spring rolled around that next year, I'd been taking those pills every night for about 6 months straight. The fog had become my normal. I moved through my days like I was underwater, slow, muffled, everything taking more effort than it should. But even through that haze, little things started piling up. Things I couldn't keep explaining away, no matter how much I wanted to. The first shift I noticed was in Marcus himself. He'd always been steady, calm, the kind of man who didn't get rattled easy. But now there were these moments, small at first, where he seemed on edge. Like he was watching me closer than before. If I came home from work a little later than usual, he'd ask where I'd been, voice casual but eyes sharp. "Traffic bad," he'd say, or "You stop somewhere." I'd tell him yeah, maybe I grabbed something from Mama or talked to Keisha in the parking lot, and he'd nod, smile, but it felt different. Like he was checking my story. Then came the phone thing. Marcus had never been secretive with his phone before. We knew each other's passcodes, didn't think twice about handing the other our phone to look up something or take a picture. But around that time, he started keeping it face down on the table. Started taking it with him if he stepped out of the room, even just to the garage or the backyard. One night, I reached for it absent-mindedly while we were on the couch, wanting to show him a funny text from my cousin. He snatched it quick, too quick, and laughed it off. "Battery's dying, baby. Let me charge it." But I saw the screen light up as he grabbed it. A notification from somebody named Chris, a name I didn't recognize from work or family. After that, I started noticing he'd angle his body away when he was texting. Or he'd stop typing the second I walked into the room. He changed his passcode too. I figured that out when I picked it up one morning to check the weather and it asked for a new code. When I asked him about it later, he said, "Just being careful. You know how easy it is for folks to get hacked these days." I nodded, said okay. But something twisted in my stomach. The control started creeping in other ways too. Quiet ways. Ways that felt like care if you didn't look too close. He'd started handling all the bills by himself, so you don't have to worry about it, baby. And I let him because thinking about money made my foggy head hurt worse. But then I realized I hadn't logged into our bank app in months. When I mentioned wanting to check something, he said he'd take care of it, showed me a screenshot, told me everything was fine. He'd gently discourage me from going out after work. If I said I was meeting Keisha or my cousin for coffee, he'd say, "You sure you're up for that? You've been so tired lately. Maybe just come home and rest." And because I was tired, so damn tired, I'd usually agree. My friends started texting, asking why I'd gone quiet. I'd make excuses. "Work's busy, Mama needs me, I'm just worn out." But really, it was easier to stay home. Easier not to have to explain why I couldn't remember half of what we talked about last time we hung out. He even started speaking for me sometimes. If Mama called and asked if I could come over, he'd take the phone and say, "She's resting right now, Ma. I'll have her call you tomorrow." Then he'd hang up and tell me, "You need your sleep more than anything." I'd feel guilty, but I'd let it go. The isolation settled in slow. I didn't see it happening because it felt protective. He was keeping the world off me while I healed. But my world got smaller and smaller until it was mostly just him, work, and quick visits to Mama when he said I was up for it. Inside, I was torn in half. Part of me still loved him so deep it hurt. He was still sweet in so many ways, cooking my favorite meals, holding me when the numbness turned into random crying spells, telling me I was beautiful even when I felt like a stranger in my own skin. I'd look at him sometimes and remember the man who proposed with takeout on the couch, who danced with me in the kitchen to old songs. That man was still there, wasn't he? But another part of me, this quiet, scared voice that the pills hadn't completely drowned, was starting to whisper, "Something's wrong. Why does he watch me swallow every night? Why does he get tense if I say I don't need the pill? Why am I losing whole days and he acts like it's normal?" I'd push the fear down fast. Tell myself I was being paranoid. That stress and lack of sleep were making me suspicious for no reason. That the man who'd loved me so well for years wouldn't turn into someone who, what? I couldn't even finish the thought. It felt like betraying him just to wonder. Some nights, after he handed me the pill and kissed my forehead, I'd lie there waiting for the heaviness to pull me under, and that scared voice would get louder. "You're disappearing. He's helping you disappear." But then the drug would hit, and everything would go quiet again. I was caught between love and fear, loving the man I thought he was, fearing the one he might be becoming. Or maybe the one he'd always been, hiding under all that sweetness. I didn't want to believe anything bad about him, I wanted my husband back, the one who made me feel safe, not watched. But those changes, the phone, the control, the way my life was shrinking around his hands, those I couldn't ignore anymore. Not completely. That's why, one night when the fear finally outweighed the fog, I held that pill under my tongue. Pretended to swallow. Waited for him to leave the room. Because I needed to know. I needed to see what happened when I wasn't lost to the dark. And what I saw that night, it made every quiet doubt scream out loud. Stay with me. The next part is the one I still can't say without my hands shaking. It was a Thursday night in early May. Nothing special about the day, just another one where I dragged myself through work, come home, eaten the dinner Marcus made, and sat on the couch until bedtime. The routine was so carved into us that we barely spoke the steps anymore. Lights dimmed, TV off, teeth brushed. Then he went to the bathroom cabinet, shook out one little white pill, and brought it to me with a glass of water. I was already in bed, propped against the pillows in my old t-shirt, hair wrapped for the night. He sat on the edge of the mattress like always, handed me the pill, and waited. That soft smile on his face. "This'll help you rest, baby," he said, same as every night. My heart was already beating a little faster than usual. I don't know why that night felt different. Maybe the doubts had piled up too high, maybe I was just tired of disappearing, but something in me said, not tonight. I took the pill from his palm. Placed it on my tongue. Felt its chalky edge against the roof of my mouth. He handed me the water. I tilted my head back, took a slow sip, and let the liquid pool around the pill without swallowing it down. I moved my throat like I was gulping, made the little sound I always make. Then I smiled, small and sleepy, and handed the glass back. "Good girl," he whispered, just like he'd done hundreds of times. He leaned in, kissed my forehead soft, lingered there a second longer than usual. Then he turned off the lamp on my side, walked around the bed, and got in on his side. The room went dark except for the faint glow of the streetlight coming through the blinds. I lay there on my back, eyes open in the dark, the pill still tucked under my tongue. It started dissolving slow, bitter coating my mouth. My heartbeat was so loud I was sure he could hear it, thump thump, thump thump, like it was trying to warn me. I focused on breathing steady, slow, the way I did when I pretended to be asleep after a bad dream. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Don't move. Don't swallow. He shifted once, twice, then settled. I waited. Counted in my head. 1 minute. 2. 5. The house was quiet except for the hum of the AC and the occasional car passing outside. I could feel the pill breaking down more, turning to paste. I wanted to spit it out so bad, but I didn't dare move. After what felt like forever, his breathing evened out. Deep, slow, the sound he makes when he's really asleep. Or at least when he wants me to think he is. I waited longer. 10 minutes. 15. My mouth was thick with the taste of it now. Finally, careful as I could, I turned my head toward the edge of the bed and let what was left of the pill slide into my palm. I closed my fist around the wet mess and slipped my hand under the pillow. And then I stayed awake. Fully awake. For the first time in months, my mind was clear, no fog pulling me under, no heaviness dragging my eyelids down. Just me, the dark, and the sound of my own heart pounding in my ears. Fear sat cold in my stomach, but I didn't move. Didn't make a sound. I stared at the ceiling and listened. Time stretched. The clock on his side ticked soft. I started to think maybe nothing would happen. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he really was just helping me sleep. Then I heard it. The mattress shifted. Quiet, careful. His side dipped as he sat up. I froze every muscle, kept my breathing deep and even, eyes cracked just enough to see shadows. He paused, like he was listening too. Then the bed springs creaked faint as he stood. Footsteps. Bare feet on hardwood, slow and deliberate. He walked around the foot of the bed, past my side, toward the door. The floorboard by the dresser gave its little groan, the one it always makes. He stopped again. Waited. I didn't breathe. After a long moment, the door opened. Soft click of the handle. He stepped out into the hall. Closed it behind him just as careful. Silence. My heart was slamming so hard I could feel it in my throat. I lay there, eyes wide now, waiting for him to come back. Wondering if he was getting water, checking the locks, anything normal. But then I heard the footsteps again. Farther away this time. Down the hall. Toward the living room. And then, his voice. Low. Too low to make out words. Talking to someone. The house was supposed to be empty. Just us. I didn't move. Didn't breathe loud. But every cell in my body was screaming. Whatever was happening in the dark while I was supposed to be asleep, it was starting right then. And I was finally awake to hear it. I stayed perfectly still for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. The house was so quiet I could hear the clock in the hallway ticking. My hand was still clenched under the pillow, the half-dissolved pill sticky against my palm. Every beat of my heart felt loud enough to give me away. Then I heard him again, his voice, low and murmured, coming from the living room. Not loud, not angry. Just talking. Steady, like he was having a regular conversation. But it was after midnight. Who was he talking to? I waited until the talking stopped. Waited longer, until I heard the soft creak of the couch as he stood. Footsteps coming back down the hall, slow, careful, same as before. The bedroom door opened just a crack. A thin slice of light from the hallway fell across the bed. I closed my eyes to slits, kept my breathing deep and even. I felt him standing there. Watching. Listening. The air felt heavier with him in the doorway. After a long pause, the door closed again. Click. Footsteps retreated. I counted to 100. Then 200. When I was sure he wasn't coming right back, I moved, slow as I could. Slid out from under the covers, put my bare feet on the cool floor. My legs were shaky from lying so tense. I wiped the pill mess onto the underside of the sheet where it wouldn't be seen, then eased the bedroom door open just enough to slip through. The hallway was dim, only the nightlight in the bathroom giving off a faint glow. I stayed close to the wall, moving inch by inch toward the living room. Every floorboard I knew by heart, the one by the bathroom that squeaks, the spot near the guest room that dips. I avoided them all. When I reached the end of the hall, I stopped. Peeked around the corner. Marcus was sitting on the couch in the dark, phone held up to his ear, screen lighting his face blue. He was speaking soft, almost tender. Yeah, she's out. Took it like always. Deep sleep within 20 minutes. A pause. He listened, nodded even though nobody could see him. No issues. She doesn't question it anymore. Thinks it's just the prescription helping her rest. My stomach dropped so hard I had to press my hand against the wall to stay upright. He kept going, voice calm, matter of fact. She's been real compliant. Doesn't fight it. Memory's fuzzy enough now that she doesn't even notice the gaps. Another pause. A small laugh, like whatever the person said amused him. Yeah, the dose is perfect. Keeps her groggy in the mornings too, so she's not digging around or asking too many questions. I felt the air leave my lungs slow, like someone had punched me gentle but deep. He wasn't talking to a friend checking in. This wasn't concern. This was management. He shifted on the couch, leaned forward, elbows on his knees. The account's looking good. Transfers are going through clean. She hasn't touched the banking app in months, too foggy to care. Pause. No, her mama's fine. I keep that under control. Tell her she's resting, needs sleep. Family buys it. My knees almost gave out. The money. The bills he'd taken over. The way he'd started speaking for me to mama. He listened again, then said, "Quieter, I'm careful. Always watch her swallow. No risks." A soft chuckle. "Yeah, I know. Patience. It's working. She trusts me completely. That's the beauty of it, she still thinks I'm protecting her." I stood there frozen, hand over my mouth so no sound could slip out. Tears started running hot down my cheeks, but I didn't make a noise. Didn't wipe them. Just listened. Then the voice on the other end must have asked something, because Marcus's tone changed, lower, more intimate. "I'll send the new photos tomorrow night. Same as usual. She won't remember posing. Never does. Photos." My skin went cold all over. A wave of nausea hit me so strong I had to lean harder against the wall. He kept talking, about schedules, about the site, about money coming in steady now. Words I didn't fully understand yet, but every one landed like a stone in my gut. He wasn't rushed. Wasn't nervous. This was routine for him. Planned. Practiced. I don't know how long I stood there. Long enough to hear him wrap up the call with, "Love you too. Talk tomorrow. Love you too." He ended the call, set the phone face down on the coffee table. Sat there a moment, head in his hands, not stressed, just thinking. Then he stood, stretched, and walked toward the kitchen. I pulled back quick into the hallway shadow, heart slamming again. I heard the fridge open. The clink of a bottle, beer, probably. He drank half, set it down. Then footsteps coming back. I moved fast but silent, back down the hall, into the bedroom, under the covers. I got into the exact position I'd been in before, faced the same way, hand tucked under the pillow again. Eyes closed. Breathing slow. The door opened. He stood there longer this time. I could feel his eyes on me. Could almost hear him deciding if I was really asleep. Then the mattress dipped as he climbed in. He pulled the covers up, settled on his side, facing me, like always. After a minute, his hand came to rest on my hip. Gentle. Familiar. "Good night, baby," he whispered into the dark. I didn't answer. Couldn't. Just kept breathing steady while tears soaked the pillow. He fell asleep quick, real sleep this time, deep and even. But I didn't sleep at all that night. Every word I'd heard circled in my head, slow and sickening. The pills weren't for rest. They were for control. For keeping me quiet. Foggy. Gone. And whatever he was doing in those hours I was supposed to be lost, it was making him money. Using me. I lay there next to the man I'd loved with everything in me, feeling him breathe calm and peaceful, and for the first time, I was terrified of him. Not loud terror. Not screaming or running. Just this cold, clear fear that settled in my chest and stayed. Because the truth wasn't loud. It was quiet. Careful. Spoken in whispers on late-night calls. And now that I'd heard it, I couldn't unhear it. I stayed awake until the sun started coming through the blinds. Watching the light grow. Planning what I had to do next. Because I finally understood, the pills weren't helping me sleep. They were helping him make sure I never woke up to what he was really doing. If you're still here, thank you. The next part is how I started fighting back, quietly, carefully. Because once you see the truth, you can't go back to pretending. That night, after I heard him end the call with, "Love you too," and climb back into bed like nothing had happened, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The sun came up slow, turning the room gray, then gold, and I just lay there staring at the ceiling, piecing it all together. Every foggy morning, every lost evening, every gentle, good girl, when I swallowed the pill, it all clicked into place. Cold. Clear. Sickening. He wasn't just drugging me to keep me quiet. He was drugging me so he could use me. The photos he mentioned, she won't remember posing, they were of me. While I was out cold. He was selling them. making money off my body while I slept right next to him, trusting him to protect me. The bank transfers, the secrecy, the way he'd isolated me from my friends and even mama, it wasn't care. It was control. He'd turned our home into a prison I didn't even know I was in, and our bed into something I can't even say out loud without feeling sick. And the worst part? There was someone else. Love you too. He had a whole other life running alongside the one he built with me. Maybe she knew. Maybe she didn't. Didn't matter. What mattered was that the man I'd loved, the man I'd built my world around, had been betraying me in ways I never imagined possible. I waited until he left for work that morning. Kissed him goodbye like always, even managed a small smile when he said, "Sleep good, baby." He looked me in the eyes and lied with that same soft voice he'd used to say our vows. I watched him back out of the driveway, wave one last time, and drive off. Then I sat down at the kitchen table and let myself feel it all. The hurt came first, deep, sharp, like something inside me cracked wide open. Tears I'd been holding back for months finally fell. I cried for the woman I used to be. For the love I thought we had. For every night I'd thanked God for him while he was planning the next photo, the next transfer, the next lie. But after the tears, something else came. Not rage, not yet. Just this quiet, steady clarity. Like the fog had finally lifted for good. I was still here. Still breathing. Still me, deep down under all the numbness he'd tried to bury me in. And I was done letting him take pieces of me. Fear was still there, God, yes. Fear of what he'd do if he found out I knew. Fear of being alone after all these years. Fear of starting over at 34 with nothing but the clothes in my closet and a bank account I hadn't touched in months. But that fear didn't own me anymore. It sat beside something stronger, self-respect. The kind my mama raised me with. The kind that says nobody, no matter how much you once loved them, gets to steal your body, your mind, your peace. I made my decision right there at that table, coffee going cold in front of me. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. That would come later, with people who could protect me. I wasn't going to pack a bag and run out the door screaming. That might put me in more danger. No. I was going to be smart. Careful. Like he'd been careful. I started planning. Quietly. That same day. First, I went to the guest room computer, the one he barely used, and logged into our bank accounts with the old password I remembered. Took screenshots of everything. The joint account drained low, the new account in only his name with deposits I didn't recognize. Then I emailed them to myself at a new Gmail address I made right then. I called Keisha from the burner app one downloaded, told her I needed help but couldn't explain over the phone. She didn't ask questions, just said, "Come to me when you're ready." Doors open. I cried again then, but quieter. I made an appointment with a lawyer for the next week, using the cash I'd saved in my drawer for emergencies. I started pretending to take the pills again, holding them under my tongue, spitting them out once he was asleep. Staying awake. Watching. Gathering proof on my phone, recordings of his late-night calls, photos of the pill bottle with the refill dates that didn't match what Dr. Evans would have prescribed. Every night he handed me that pill and said, "This is for you, baby." I smiled and swallowed water and waited for him to turn off the light. But inside, I wasn't his anymore. I was mine. Fear turned into fuel. Hurt turned into strength. And love, whatever was left of it, turned into resolve. I'm getting out. Safely. Fully. With evidence. With support. With my name and my voice and my body back in my own hands. And when the time is right, he's going to learn that the quiet woman he thought he could control? She's been wide awake. Watching. Planning. And she's coming for everything he tried to take from her. If you're in something like this, feeling foggy, feeling small, feeling like you're losing yourself to someone who says they love you, please hear me. You are still in there. You are stronger than they want you to believe. And you deserve to wake up. Really wake up. I'm doing it now. One careful step at a time. Thank you for listening to my story. It's been almost 8 months now since I left. I won't tell you the exact day or how I did it. Some details I'm still keeping close for safety. But I got out. With help from Keisha, a good lawyer, and a women's support group I found online. I took what was mine, my clothes, my important papers, the proof I'd gathered, and I walked away from that house without looking back. The first few weeks were hard. Harder than I expected. I stayed with Keisha, slept on her couch, woke up some nights reaching for a man who wasn't there anymore. The hurt didn't just vanish. Some days it sat heavy on my chest, making it tough to breathe. I cried in the shower, cried in the car, cried when certain songs came on the radio. I went to therapy, real therapy this time, not the kind disguised as bedtime pills. My counselor, Miss Renee, told me it was normal. That grief doesn't care how toxic the thing was you lost. I was grieving the marriage I thought I had, the future I'd planned, the version of him I loved. And that's okay. Healing isn't linear. Some days I felt strong, others I felt small again. But I kept showing up, for myself. Slowly, the fog lifted for good. No more groggy mornings, no more memory gaps. I started sleeping on my own terms, deep, real sleep that left me refreshed instead of empty. My skin cleared up, my hair stopped falling out, and the weight I'd gained began to come off as I took care of my body again. I reconnected with Mama, told her everything when I was ready. She held me and said, "My strong girl. You always were." Hearing that helped more than I can say. I'm in my own place now, a small apartment with windows that let in light and plants I water every morning. I go to work, come home, cook meals I actually taste. I laugh with friends again. I'm dating myself right now, learning who I am when nobody's watching, when nobody's handing me something to help me rest. And I'm okay. More than okay. I'm whole. To anybody watching this who feels even a piece of what I felt, the tiredness that doesn't make sense, the forgetting, the quiet control dressed up as love, please listen to that small voice inside. The one that whispers something's off even when everything looks fine on the outside. You don't have to have proof to trust your gut. You don't have to wait until it gets worse. Reach out. Tell one safe person. Make one small plan. You deserve to live awake, fully awake, in your own life. I'm not bitter anymore. I'm free. And freedom feels quiet, steady, warm. Like coming home to yourself after being gone too long. Thank you for sitting with me through this story. For holding space while I told the truth. I hope it helps somebody out there take that first step toward their own light. Be gentle with yourselves. Be careful with who you trust with your nights. And remember, no matter how deep the dark gets, morning always comes. You just have to stay awake long enough to see it. Take care, y'all. I'm rooting for you.